Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live update here on CIG Television, a live update on what is Tropical Storm Raphael. I have joining me in studio at the Government Administration Building, Ms. Danielle Coleman. She's the Director of Hazard Management, Cayman Islands. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us to provide the public with this live update. Let's jump right in by just giving folks an idea of what kind of work has gone into preparing for Tropical Storm Raphael over the last few days and how the meetings have played out and what's actually happening at this point.
Thank you, Donna. And again, it's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm glad that everyone's tuning in. Yeah, it's been a good couple of days of lots of preparedness activities. Now, obviously, we're quite far on in the season now, so lots have been going on throughout the year. We've had several events already, activations already, but we're always trying to streamline our processes. So again, the last few days, we started monitoring this good four days ago, and working with our weather people and other stakeholders. So again, making sure we're prepared. Now, we always like to err on the side of caution. So at the end of the day, we prepare for the worst. We make sure that all our basically the actual response is ready to go at all levels, and then we can always scale back if the situation allows for it. It's been a very dynamic situation. We've had to pivot a heck of a lot over the last few days, 24 hours. For example, yesterday at 4 o'clock, we were going to do a full activation, given the forecast was what it was, and then a few hours later, it's changed again and downgraded. So we now opted for partial activation. So right now, we've been having meetings for the last 2 to 3 days with the council. Again, that's a load of sectors in that, including public-private sectors. It has airports authorities, it has tourism, it has a large number of different people in there. And then, of course, we've got the executive. We've been briefing the executive twice a day for the last 2 days. And again, that's co-chaired by the Premier and Governor. And it has the cabinet members in, the Attorney General, Commissioner of Police, DG, and myself. So there's a lot of different moving parts here. Again, a very scalable response. We are working with our shelter teams. We've activated shelters across all 3 islands, 3 in the BRAC, 1 in Little Cayman, and 5 here in Grand Cayman. But like with everything, and even our exercises, we often have these simultaneous events, things that crop up that we don't expect. And we've had that today with numbers, different things that we've had to deal with. And as always, the actual structure and everyone involved has been very, very flexible and actually responded accordingly. So it's been smooth so far. Again, our biggest focus right now is on the sister islands and has been for the last 12 hours. A lot of work goes into planning our response for tomorrow. So whilst, of course, they're having the brunt of it tonight, we need to make sure that things are ready to go tomorrow. So we've obviously pre-deployed the regiment already, and they left yesterday and today, 2 different flights. But again, we need to make sure they've got more surge capacity, that the damage assessment teams will be happening be deployed early tomorrow, when the time's safe to do so, both in Grand, but more particularly with the sister islands, given that they're going to get the brunt of this. And also other capacity. It might be that we need to send relief supplies to the sister islands. It might be that we need to send more personnel, be it coordination, more regiment, medical, whatever that looks like. We're planning for it tonight and making sure that that response is very, very ready to go as soon as we can go with the all clear tomorrow.
Now, I understand that power is actually out on Cayman Brac already from a while ago. And you talked about the personnel who and agencies who are now on the sister islands. There are a lot of moving parts here, and it seems to be managed very, very well by all of the leaders, including yourself. But can we give the folks an idea out there exactly how many people we're talking about that actually comes from within the agencies and make up the clusters and the teams and the committees to make this all work so well?
I think it's a great question, Donna. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts here. So, as you say, the executive is the sort of very high-level strategic decision-making group. They work very closely with the overseas territories, with London. Any decision that needs to be made from a far-reaching financial or geographical standpoint, the executive are obviously very much part of that decision-making. So there's about 12 people on that, potentially 15. In regards to the NEAC Council, now that, again, is about 60 people. We've been briefing them twice a day the last few days. Again, a wide variety of sectors on that. And then the actual the activation of the NEAC, the National Emergency Operations Centre. Again, for this situation right now, we've opted for a partial activation, which means we've got about 15 people in with us at hazard management, the cluster leaders. So we have clusters from Human Concerns Cluster, we have the Emergency Response Cluster, which of course in this kind of situation is the lead agency. Infrastructure cluster and support services. So there's a lot of moving parts. Again, it's very scalable. If by chance something dramatically changes, we can scale up. If something doesn't warrant it, we can scale down again. So there's a lot of different people involved in this. And again, it's public-private sector. So some excellent relationships going on with supermarkets, with chamber, with airports authorities and statutory authorities. So it's a really good display of, teamwork. And again, we've practiced this a number of times over the last few years. So we're learning from every incident and every exercise. Of course, we do these debriefs. We're very, very honest with ourselves when we do debriefs and make sure that we're learning from the experience. And more importantly, we're implementing that learning to make every time we have another incident that our response improves over and over again to make sure we're as best and as good as we possibly can be in any response.
So with all the agencies that are represented over on these sister islands, how quickly do you see assessments and recovery being done? I mean, obviously we'd have to wait to assess and to see what damage and this damage and destruction that occurred, and then move into the recovery phase. But how quickly do you expect this to start happening? And also persons on the island who may need assistance, like where do they go to? Is there some point on islands that they would go to if they need help?
Yes, thank you, Donna. Again, that damage assessment will start before the all clear is given in the sister islands, because of course part of the all clear decision is based on the weather, but also what kind of damage is out there. If there's a lot of damage on the roads, of course, it's not safe to give the all clear. And also debris clearance. We need to make sure we can clear the roads before we, people are allowed, can come out of the houses, to make sure that there's actually, movable for emergency responders may need to get through the roads quickly. So a lot of things go into the decision on the all clear. The damage assessment, as I mentioned, is being planned already in the National Emergency Operations Centre now for what that looks like in the sister islands. We're working very closely with the sister islands, the District Commissioner's Office, the Sister Islands Emergency Committee, and of course the CERT team. So making sure that our response to help them and to support them can happen as soon as the airports open tomorrow. The chances are a delegation will be going over. Again, we mentioned the regiment's already there. So that damage assessment will happen early afternoon. Right now, the forecast is for Cayman, Charles O'Connell International Airport to open around noon. Again, that will have to be based on the airport being clear, making sure that the actual runway is clear and it's safe for planes to actually come and go. However, obviously X-ray 1 will be deployed in the morning or when it's safe to do so. And the fixed wing, the MRCU fixed wing will also be helping with the assessment. So there's a lot of different agencies helping with the damage assessment. So we have the aerial obviously information, but also people on the ground going from door to door checking to see that that's there. And there's great capacity already in the sister islands, but again, we just want to make sure we can support them in those different aspects. In regards to relief items, again, a lot of that need will be based on our assessments tomorrow afternoon, but we will be, I'm sure, no doubt, sending items over, and those items, again, things like tarpaulins, jerry cans, which are watering cans, sanitation kits, and all that kind of stuff. Whilst we do like to wait for the needs assessment to be done, obviously those generic items are going to be very helpful either way. And we work closely anyway annually with the sister islands and send a lot of that equipment out every year. So again, this will just be adding a bit of extra surge to their capacity over there in regard to both resources, physical resources, assets like relief items, but of course also perhaps personnel as well if needed.
Okay, what's the plan for, let's say, worst case scenario, uh, families are not able to contact their families on the sister islands, and they may be panicking because they can't contact them because of telecoms being down. What would you say to those folks who may want to go jump in a plane to go over to Cayman or Little Cayman to help their families? What would you say to them?
I think in Paloma we saw a really good community outreach of people helping, our sister islands families. So at the end of the day, obviously we'll be sending personnel over tomorrow to help, so trained emergency responders, including police, including potentially more regiment, and whoever we think we need. And again, that conversation happens with the Sister Islands Emergency Committee, so we're supporting them. Again, I think the best thing you can do, we do have our National Emergency Operations Call Centre open, and the number's 949-6555. If there are any concerns about people missing or any reports regarding the storm, and information needed, that helpline is very much open. We've got the call centre, the cadets there now actually answering calls. So I think it's, if it's an emergency, obviously call 911, but of course for anything related to the storm, 949-6555.
Okay. Any final words before we go?
Again, I think it's just a really good reminder to say that this, there's still a long way to go in this, in particular for the Sister Islands. So I think please remain vigilant. It's so important that people really do stay aware, stay attuned to the official sources, making sure that they are, if something changes dramatically very quickly, making sure they can respond accordingly. And again, just, looking out for each other. I think, in times like this, we really need to make sure we're looking out for each other and helping those in most need. So I strongly encourage you to check on your neighbours tomorrow once the all clear is given, and to just help each other out and make sure you're not doing anything that will put yourself or other first responders who have to respond to help you in harm's way. So please don't do anything too dangerous. Obviously, Sister Islands, a shelter in place is in order already from noon today, and it will be finishing probably about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. As of 10 o'clock tonight, there is likely to be a shelter in place for Grand Cayman. However, at the same time, we need to make sure that everyone, again, if you don't need to go out, please stay inside. There's so much going on in regards to potential that we need to do on the road with the first responding agencies. So I'd ask you humbly to stay inside if you don't need to go out. And again, just stay safe, Cayman.
All right, Danielle Coleman, it's always a pleasure. To you, our listeners and viewers, thank you for joining us. We hope that you do so again at our 9 p.m. update in just a little bit.
Thank you, Donna.